There you are. My name's Professor Tarquin Danglebury, and I'm a Professor of Penology here at the University of Cambridge. Now, for those of you not familiar with the University of Cambridge, it is something like Harvard, except this is actually prestigious. I teach penology, and I do penology research, and the joy of penology is in fact that we speak about fountain pens all day, but to do that we use foreign languages. So I've done and published, in fact, many comparative studies of fountain pen terminology all over the world. So today we're going to have a look at the Dutch language, and the goal of this is a new feature over here at fbgeeks.com, yes. So what we're going to do here is in fact quite simple. We're going to teach you how to name and mention all the different aspects of a fountain pen in a foreign language. So the joy of that would be you would go to a foreign country, I don't know which country, some country you would like, and you go there and a part of your pen breaks down. Of course, you are a user of fountain pens, you'll take your pen and the part of your pen will break, because that's what happens on holiday, of course. You walk into a fountain pen store and you have absolutely no idea how to refer to that specific part in the language of the country where you are. So, today we're going to start with Dutch. The reason we're going to use Dutch is that it is an extremely boring language, but I wrote a dissertation on Dutch fountain pen terminology. That's why. So, I have here a fountain pen. This is by Conway Stewart, a British brand, of course. Why would I use something else? And we're going to talk about the different parts of this pen, and I'm going to teach you how to refer to each part of the pen, and, in fact, the entire pen itself. Let's start with the entire pen itself. Fountain pen. The Dutch word is, in fact, very simple, and I think it makes a lot more sense than the English word, because the Dutch word is vulpen. Vulpen. Now, this is actually quite funny, because vullen is a Dutch verb that means to fill, and this is a pen that you fill. I've never seen these pens being shot from a fountain or something, so I don't exactly know why they're called fountain pen in English, but the Dutch word is vulpen. So that's very easy. Now, let's move on to the nib. I don't exactly know what a nib is apart from this. I don't know the origin of the word, but I do know that in Dutch this part is called punt. Which makes a lot of sense because it's a point. The word punt in Dutch means point. And of course, it is in fact a quite pointy object. Then we have the barrel. The barrel of a pen. What do you call the barrel of a pen? Well, it's a little bit different, but usually we call this, in Dutch, a houder, which literally means a holder, something you put something in. And of course, you put the nib and the section in the barrel, so that makes quite a lot of sense. Now, when we come to the section, I just mentioned it, what we would call that is greep. Greep or greep sectie. Which is actually, again, quite simple, because greep means something like a grip. Like, to grip something is grijpen, and a grip is just a greep. Which is, of course, it makes a lot of sense. Then we have the cap. What do you call the cap? You call the cap dop. Dop. And dop is just a cap. You can also refer to the cap on a bottle as dop. It's the same thing. Okay, then you have the clip. Now, this word is very difficult, so I'll take some care in pronouncing this. The English word is clip. The Dutch word is clip. You hear the difference? Clip, 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 clip. I know it's very difficult, but just keep repeating it, and at some point or another you may just, or may not, I don't know about you, but I probably could pronounce it. Okay, then we have the feed. Now, that's quite a difficult word to pronounce and to grasp, actually, because the feed is not something, it's not exactly a term you use on a daily basis. But here we have the feed. What do you call a feed? You would call that toevoer. Toevoer. Why toevoer? Well, toevoer is something like, it's something that actually, you know, toevoer is like sort of a main road. So it's something you would go to and actually, you know, a supply route. That's actually what you're saying. Of course, I say supply route because this is a US site. If I were to speak proper English, of course, I would say supply route. But that's just something completely different. Then we should have a look at the word for converter. A very useful word because, let's face it, without a converter, your fountain pen wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. The converter is quite simply, in Dutch, converter. There's a paired word for that in Dutch, which is very simple, as with clip, clip, converter, converter. It's a very simple word, isn't it? Okay, so we've had that. Then, of course, we have the cartridge. The cartridge. What do you call a cartridge in Dutch? Have any idea? No, of course you don't. That's what I'm here to... That's what I'm here to tell you. Need a sip of tea. There we go. The cartridge. In Dutch, you would say vulling. Remember what I refer to? You know, the whole pen? Vulpen. Because it's a filling pen. Cartridge, vulling. Vulling for the vulpen. It's really that simple. So this is something you can use. It's actually a filling. That's what we would call that. Alright, so we have covered the fountain pen, we've covered the nib, the barrel, the clip, the cap, the feed, the cartridge, the converter, the section. There's one word that's absolutely vital because without it you cannot use a pen, and that is the word for ink. What do you call ink? Well, it's in fact a very simple word. Inked. It's just the word ink, but you add a T to the end. Inked. Inked. In de vulling zit inkt. En de vulling gaat in de vulpen. It's really that simple. So, here we have it. The very first installment in the Fountain Pen Geeks Language Academy. I hope this was somewhat useful. I understand this was difficult, so you probably have to watch and re-watch and review the video quite a couple of times. And then, before you know it, you'll be a professor in penology just like me. So, the next language, we'll have to figure out what that's going to be. But, of course, let's put it this way. Even though you may or may not be Professor of Penology, as I am, I'm quite sure that you speak some language. Now, of course, we all know the terms in English, but if you were to speak some other language, say German, French, Spanish, Italian, Swedish, or probably Swahili, and you know the terms for a fountain pen, please record a video and submit it to fpgeeks.com. You know our email addresses? You can just send it there to us, and we will make sure something happens to it. And that, as far as I'm concerned, is pretty much all there's to it. I wish you a very good night, and I'll see you later. Bye.